Okay, so before we head on to the next story, isn't Timothy going to be in Walker? Yes, he is. So that is a December release. That is a December release, and don't forget, Coco, he's going to be in Dune too. So he's going to have a really big year coming up in the November and December. I think it's December Walker comes out. So November and December, he's going to have a really big end of the year. So um, so let's move on to the next story. And I did a story, I think last week, about HBO Max and how they are now being investigated by the Department of Justice and how they had or they will be taking off 186 titles throughout, 55, 60 years, and all of those titles are going to be gone. And I sat down and I read the letter to you guys, and you guys were very patient in listening, but it displayed a lot of concerns that they had. HBO Max is now going to relaunch, and they are going to try and do this. And so the pricing of this is now up in the air. So this comes from the Hollywood Reporter. What's one way to drum up anticipation from a streaming service merger? Keep the new name a secret. A Warner Brothers Discovery, as Warner Brothers Discovery prepares to unveil its refreshed streaming service on April 12th, we're only 48 hours away from this, guys. Outside partners are still awaiting official word on what the exact merged HBO Max Discovery streamer is going to be named, as executives continue to refer to the service by the code name Beam, according to people familiar with the matter. Now, the code name has been referenced for several months, although it's unclear if they're going to, that's just shorthand for something, or is it going to be, you know, in house and whatnot. The event, taking place at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank and streaming online, is set to showcase what the merged company's marquee streaming service will look like as it loses the HBO Max name and gains programming from Discovery Plus. Even if Beam is used internally, WBD executives are widely expected to announce that the updated streaming service will be called Max, which will give a nod to the original HBO Max name but losing the HBO branding. A quick search of Max.com also appears to suggest Warner Brothers takeovers the domain up until mid February. Was previously registered to the vitamin and supplement brand Max International. The URL is now registered to um, Monitor, a domain management and security firm that works with large corporations, including Warner Brothers Discovery. And on CNN, an airing of a four-part docuseries, Heaven's Gate: The Cult of Cultists, that was about David Koresh and the whole Waco thing that happened 30 years ago, was touted as a promo as a Max original. Content wise, Max will differ from its predecessors in that it won't be enticing viewers to subscribe by offering same day films on HBO Max, as was the case with Dune, Wonder Woman 1984, and The Matrix Resurrection during what was called, quote, Project Popcorn, end quote, in 2021. That was when they put all the feature films day and date. That move away from the streaming first film mentality, championed by former Warner Media CEO Jason Kilger, comes as a Warner Brothers Discovery continues to cut costs under its new leadership during the fourth quarter of 2022. WBD reported $217 million in streaming losses, down from more than $600 million reported in the fiscal third quarter. There was a lot of content that wasn't being viewed, WBD CEO David Zaslav said during the company's February 23rd earnings call. That's what led us to the conclusion that direct to streaming movies were providing no real value to us. Original TV programming Original TV programming will continue with projects in the works that include a Harry Potter live action series and a Sherlock Holmes television franchise, with Robert Downey Jr. attached as an executive producer, as well as the highly anticipated next seasons of House of the Dragon and The White Lotus. And don't forget, guys, they're going to be having The Last of Us come on too at some point. But for all those interested in watching Chip and Joanna Gang's Magnolia Network or the shows from the 90 Day Fiancé universe, fret not. Discovery Plus will remain as a standalone service, even as their programs are going to be added to the Max service, thanks to the lower cost, low churn, and profitability. If anything, Zaslav said during the earnings call that the addition of Discovery Plus content on Max will help convert some of those existing Discovery Plus subscribers into Max subscribers. Our strategy is to leave no sub behind, he said. We have profitable subscribers that are very happy with the product offering on Discovery Plus. So why would we shut them off? As of as of April 12th, lingering questions on how the WBD would price out its subscription tiers, which begins at $9.99 for the ad-supported tier and $15.99 for the ad-free for the current iteration of HBO Max. While the $15.99 monthly price point is on par with Netflix, HBO Max's supported tier is currently at $9.99, the highest of all the ad-supported subscription offered by Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Paramount, and Peacock. Warner Brothers Discovery most recently reported having 96.1 million streaming subscriptions, with the relaunch being a key toward growth next month. The relaunch the, or launch of a combined product is absolutely critical because for the first time, we're going to be able to put together all the content together, said the CFO at a Morgan Stanley investor event in March. We believe that there's going to have to be positive impacts on engagement, on churn, on subscription acquisition. The exec also stated earlier in the year on the earnings call that the relaunch of the combined service would be bolstered by, quote, an increase in marketing spending support and premier content launches, end quote. Following next week's preview, the updated streaming service, the company will hold its annual stockholders meeting in May. Okay, lot to digest there. Lot to digest. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay. I don't know where to start. Okay, let's start at the top. Okay. The fact is that, first and foremost, okay, I'm going to take the picture off so I can talk. First and foremost, we have a company that is in serious, serious trouble because the Department of Justice is going to be looking into them, or Congress or senators or legislators want to look into HBO Max because they removed so much content. And you guys can Google the letter or go back and watch the video, okay? Because they basically, it is such a scathing video, and that's necessary to talk about. So they're trying to get their attention off of that, okay? That's first and foremost. Now, this relaunch had been happening for a while, and we all know about that, okay? The thing is, okay, now you talk about pricing, okay? Pricing is one of those things where, just like Netflix, okay, if you remember all those years ago, they never, ever, ever had ad tiers, okay? But they have, the only way that they were going to get revenue, okay, is by having you pay for non commercials, or not, kind of like every couple of, it's like you're on YouTube. Okay, so I have premium, so I'm lucky about this. But it's like you have YouTube, okay? And if you have YouTube premium like myself, you don't get any ads. Okay? Now, let's say you're not as fortunate, okay? And you actually do. Maybe you watch 2 or 3 or 4 videos and then you'll have an ad pop up. Okay? That's what they're trying to do. Now, every time you guys watch an ad on this stream, okay, on the videos, I get money. It's very small. It's like 4 or 5 cents, but I get money. Okay. Um, but nonetheless, they have to get because even Zaslav said it himself. Okay, the subscribers are so incredibly important. Okay, um, it's one of those things where the fact is that they're going to be bumping this up to $15.99 for the current iteration. Okay, I I mean, look, I'll pay for it. I mean, I don't watch HBO Max, you know, a lot, but I'll pay for it, or I might, knock it down to the other one. Here's the interesting thing, though. Okay, something to be said about this. So they have announced, okay, Warner Brothers has announced that they are going to be coming out with a new Harry Potter series. I'd be curious to get your guys' thoughts on that because I don't need a new Harry Potter series. Not that I wasn't a bigger Potter. I've seen all the movies. I'm just not as in depth as some people. The Sherlock Holmes one. My question is, and we know that our DJ is going to be an executive producer. Why? I don't necessarily need. The other thing too is you're going to have you're going to have um, The Last of Us in a couple years. So I think what they're trying to do is deflect from the fact that they're being, an investigation. The other thing too is at the end of the day, okay, and even Zaslav said this here, okay, there wasn't a lot of content that was there was a lot of content that just wasn't being viewed. So instead of what he did, instead of taking it off little by little by little by little, he took it off all at once. So you have 186 titles all leaving the streaming at one time. Even if there is going to be a relaunch, what are you doing? Huh? I think that's a little unorthodox. Nonetheless, there is a lot of flux going on. And the fact that they're putting all this stuff on the same um, channel, fine. I'm happy with it. Great, there's more content. But you got to do it slowly but surely and work it in. You don't just remove it all. It's like peeling a band aid off. You rip the band aid off, it might hurt. It's a horrible analogy, but you get the understanding. You take all that content off at once, there are serious red flags. Because, as the letter stated, you're not giving the consumers enough choices and you're charging them money for it. I don't know. And it's a bad move. And by the way, they're probably number 2 or number 3 as far as streaming services. Disney Plus being the first. Okay, I think they've taken over Netflix. Netflix would probably be number 2. HBO Max number 3. And the only reason I got HBO Max, to be frank, was for The Last of Us. That's it. I mean, I've watched other things. Like I started watching the Harley Quinn's animated series. I love that. I mean, I've watched some stuff, but it's not like I go on HBO Max every single day. Um, we'll see what happens. But this is supposed to. I am going to get up on Wednesday, and I am going to watch the relaunch because I'm really interested to see whatever it's called. It has to be better than what it was. So let's So HBO Overkill, HBO. Yeah. Now I'm really curious to see what um the name is going to be because I mean, look, if you don't, you have to have HBO. I mean, honestly, Coco, that's not bad. HBO Plus is not bad because what you're doing is you're putting the Discovery Plus in there and you're keeping the HBO moniker. So I think that might not be that would be a good one. Beam. God help us if they need Beam. That's almost as bad as Peacock. But I think that it's one of those things that we'll see what happens. I will give it a chance. I will give it a chance. I will see what happens and do that. So yeah. Anyways, guys, what do you think about this? What do you think about rebranding? What do you think that they're going to call it? Also, do you have HBO Max? When it does hit in a couple of days, come back on the show. Let me know what your thoughts are. Okay. I'm really curious to see, is it, user friendly? Can you find your favorite shows easy? All of that good stuff. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and I'll get back to everybody.